The lights flickered again in the cargo district of Velar 9, and Tala's hand moved to her plasma pistol. She had been a security officer for 8 years, and her instincts were sharp. Something was wrong in this sector. The air smelled like burning metal, and the usual hum of the station systems sounded off-key. Her communicator crackled. Security alert. Unauthorized access detected at airlock 7. Possible breach attempt. Tyla's scales rippled with tension. A breach could kill hundreds. She was Vrexian, a species bred for combat, with strength that could bend steel and reflexes faster than most races in the galaxy. She moved through the dimly lit corridor with practiced silence, her weapon drawn and ready. The cargo district was nearly empty at this hour. Most workers had gone to their quarters for sleep cycle. Only emergency maintenance teams should be here, and they would have logged their presence. Tala's eyes adjusted to the darkness as she approached airlock 7. The control panel was open, and she could see a figure hunched over the exposed wiring. "Step away from the controls," she ordered. Her voice carrying the natural growl of her species. The figure didn't respond. It kept working, hands moving quickly through the wiring. The lights flickered again, and for a moment everything went dark. In that instant, Tala made her decision. An intruder tampering with an airlock during a power fluctuation. The math was simple. She aimed and fired. The plasma bolt lit up the corridor with blue-white light. It struck the figure in the chest, and the person collapsed without a sound. The emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in a red glow. Tala moved forward, her weapon still raised, ready for accomplices. But there was only one person. As she got closer, her blood went cold. The figure wore a standard station maintenance uniform, not an intruder's dark clothing, not hostile gear, just the simple gray coveralls that workers wore every day. She rolled the body over and saw his face, human, male, young. His name badge read, Haiyan Wu Cargo Specialist. His chest was burned black where her plasma bolt had hit him, and blood was spreading across his uniform. His toolkit lay scattered around the airlock panel, and she could now see that he had been repairing the emergency systems, not sabotaging them. Tala's mind raced. She had shot an innocent worker. She had killed someone who was trying to save the station. Her hands shook as she activated her communicator. Medical emergency. Airlock 7. I need a trauma team immediately. She knelt beside Haiyan Wu, unsure what to do. Humans were fragile. Everyone knew that. They had no natural armor, no redundant organs, no enhanced healing. A plasma bolt to the chest was a death sentence for most species. For a human, it should be instant, but then she saw his chest move. Just a little. He was breathing. Tala stared in disbelief. The wound was terrible. She could smell burned flesh. Blood pooled on the floor. No one should survive this, especially not a human. She had read the briefings when humans joined the galactic community 15 years ago. Weak bones, thin skin, low body mass. They were considered the most fragile of all spacefaring species. Yet this one was still breathing. A medical team arrived in 3 minutes. They surrounded Haiyan Wu with practiced efficiency, scanning him with their instruments. The lead medic, an insectoid named Crix, clicked his mandibles in what Tala recognized as surprise. "He's alive," Crix said, confirming what Tala's eyes told her. "Barely, but alive. We need to move him now." They loaded Haiyan Wu onto a floating stretcher. As they rushed him toward the medical bay, Tala followed at a distance. Her supervisor arrived, a thick-bodied Gorlan named Vex, and she gave her report in a hollow voice. Unauthorized access alert. Dark corridor. Figure at the airlock controls. She had followed protocol. She had done everything right, except she had shot an innocent man. Vex put a heavy hand on her shoulder. You're on administrative leave until we investigate. Go to your quarters. But Tala couldn't go to her quarters. She found herself outside the medical bay, watching through the transparent walls as the doctors worked on Hyan Wu. They cut away his burned uniform. They hooked him to machines that beeped and hummed. They worked with intense focus, and Tala waited for the moment when they would stop, when they would declare him dead, when her mistake would become a murder. Hours passed. Station workers walked by, some giving her curious looks. News of the shooting was already spreading. Tala heard whispers. Some said it was an accident. Others said it was typical Vrexian aggression. A few said the human probably deserved it for working without proper authorization. But Tala knew the truth. She had seen the maintenance request on the panel before she left the scene. Hyan Wu had been authorized. He had been doing his job. She had just been too quick to shoot, too ready to see threats instead of taking 2 seconds to verify. 6 hours after the shooting, Crix emerged from the surgical suite. His compound eyes fixed on Tala, and she braced herself for the news. She expected him to say that Hyan Wu had died on the table, that they had done everything possible, that she was now responsible for a death. Instead, Crix said, "He's going to live." Tala's legs felt weak. "What? The human is going to survive," Crix repeated. "It shouldn't be possible." The plasma bolt destroyed significant tissue. His left lung was compromised. He lost almost 30% of his blood volume. But his body is fighting back. His cellular regeneration is remarkable. His cardiovascular system refused to quit despite the shock. I've never seen anything like it. Crix pulled up a holographic display showing Hyan Wu's scans. He pointed to the damaged areas, explaining in medical terms that Tala barely understood. But the core message was clear. Humans were tougher than anyone thought. "Can I see him?" Tala asked. Crix shook his head. "Not yet. He's unconscious and will be for at least another day. His body needs time to stabilize. But yes, he will live." Tala stood outside the medical bay for a long time after Crix went back inside. She watched the monitors showing Hyan Wu's vital signs. The steady beat of his heart. The rise and fall of his chest. The human she had shot by mistake was alive. And somehow that made everything worse. She had been so certain of human weakness, so confident in her understanding of the galaxy species. But in one terrible moment, that certainty had been shattered. She had killed before in the line of duty. She had shot pirates and smugglers and those who threatened the station. But she had never shot someone innocent, someone who was just doing their job, someone who, against all odds, refused to die even when they should have died. As Tala finally walked to her quarters, she felt something she had never experienced before. Not just guilt, not just shame, but a deep curiosity. What else had she been wrong about? What else did she not understand about humans? And why couldn't she stop thinking about the way Hyan Wu's chest kept moving, kept breathing, kept living despite the hole she had burned through it? The aftermath of her mistake was only beginning, and Tala had a feeling it would change everything she thought she knew. Tala didn't sleep. She lay in her quarters staring at the ceiling, replaying the shooting over and over in her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Hyan Wu falling. She heard the sound of her plasma pistol firing. She smelled the burning flesh. The administrative leave meant she had nothing but time to think, and thinking was torture. On the second day, she returned to the medical bay. She told herself she just needed to see that he was still alive, that her one moment of poor judgment hadn't resulted in death. But deeper down, she knew it was more than that. She needed to understand how he survived. Crix found her standing outside the observation window. The insectoid doctor approached with his usual clicking sounds that indicated thoughtfulness. "He woke up this morning," Crick said without greeting. Conscious and aware. His vitals are stabilizing faster than predicted. That's impossible, Tala said. I saw the wound. I saw how much blood he lost. I agree it should be impossible, Crix replied. But humans are full of surprises. Come, let me show you something. He led her to his office and pulled up Haiyan Wu's medical scans on a large display. The images showed the internal damage in detail. The burned tissue, the compromised lung, the trauma to his chest cavity. It was the kind of injury that would kill a Vexian, and her species was considered tough. Look here, Crix pointed with one of his 6 limbs. This is the wound site 12 hours after surgery. Now look at this scan from this morning. The second image showed noticeable healing. The tissue was regenerating. The inflammation was decreasing. The damaged lung showed signs of repair that should take weeks, not days. Human cellular regeneration is extraordinary, Crix explained. Their bodies treat major trauma as a challenge to overcome. Their immune systems are aggressive. Their pain tolerance is high. And their bodies seem to have multiple backup systems that activate during crisis. Tala studied the scans. But the briefing said humans were weak, fragile, one of the most vulnerable species in the galaxy. Vulnerable in some ways, Crix agreed. They have no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength. But vulnerable doesn't mean weak. Humans evolved on what they call a death world, a planet where everything tried to kill them. They survived by being stubborn, by refusing to die even when logic said they should. The doctor pulled up more files. Tala saw reports from other stations. Humans surviving falls that should break their bones. Humans working in conditions that exhausted other species. Humans recovering from diseases that killed stronger races. The pattern was clear once she knew to look for it. They're persistence predators, Crix continued. On their homeworld, they would chase prey for hours or even days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They didn't win by being strong or fast. They won by not giving up. Tala felt something shift in her understanding. She had looked at humans and seen their lack of natural weapons. Their thin skin, their average height. She had made assumptions based on what they didn't have. She never considered what they did have. I want to see him, she said. Crix hesitated. He's been informed about the shooting. About you. He may not want visitors. I need to apologize. The doctor led her to Haiyan Wu's room. Through the window, Tala could see him sitting up in bed. He looked pale and tired, but he was conscious and reading something on a datapad. He looked so normal, so ordinary, not like someone who should be dead. Crix opened the door and announced her. Haiyan Wu looked up, and his eyes met Tala's. She expected anger, hatred, fear. She prepared herself for accusations and rage. She deserved all of it. Instead, Haiyan Wu just nodded. You came to apologize, he said. His voice was weak but steady. Tala stepped into the room, her hands clenched at her sides. I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. The alarm, the darkness. I thought you were a threat. I should have verified. I should have been more careful. I should have. You thought you were protecting the station. Haiyan Wu interrupted. You saw someone at an airlock during a power failure. You made a decision. A wrong decision, but I understand why you made it. His forgiveness was worse than anger. Tala felt her throat tighten. I almost killed you. Almost, Haiyan Wu agreed. But you didn't. I'm still here. You should be dead, Tala said bluntly. That wound should have been fatal. A small smile crossed Haiyan Wu's face. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot from the doctors. Apparently, I'm tougher than expected. How? Tala asked. How are you even conscious right now? Haiyan Wu shrugged. then winced at the movement. I'm human. We're good at not dying. It's kind of our thing. Over the next few days, Tala found herself drawn back to the medical bay again and again. She told herself it was guilt, responsibility, making sure her victim survived. But the truth was more complicated. She was fascinated. She started researching humans in her spare time. She accessed every file in the station's database. She read about Earth, the planet where humans evolved. It was a world of extremes. Violent weather, deadly predators, diseases and parasites, natural disasters. Humans had survived it all by adapting, enduring, and refusing to quit. She learned about their history. Wars that lasted years. Explorations into hostile environments. Scientific advances made through trial and error. Humans didn't survive by being the strongest. They survived by being the most stubborn. One evening, she worked up the courage to visit Haiyan Wu's quarters. The door was unlocked, and she entered carefully. The room was small and simple. A bed, a desk, a small food preparation area. But the walls told stories. Pictures covered one wall. Humans of various ages, all smiling. Tala recognized the setting as Earth based on the blue sky and green plants. Family, she realized. Haiyan Wu's family. There was writing in a script she didn't recognize. Korean, the computer told her when she scanned it. One of Earth's many languages. The desk held maintenance manuals, covered in handwritten notes. Haiyan Wu's handwriting was neat and precise. He had made diagrams and calculations in the margins. He took his work seriously. He had been trying to save the station when she shot him. Tala sat on the edge of his bed and put her face in her hands. She had never bothered to learn about humans before. They were just another species on the station. Weak ones that she didn't need to worry about. She had looked at them and seen nothing worth her attention. She had been so wrong. On the 5th day after the shooting, Tala visited Haiyan Wu again. He was out of bed, doing light exercises that the doctors had approved. He moved slowly and carefully, but he moved. A Vrexian with that injury would still be unconscious. You keep coming back, Haiyan Wu observed. Why? Tala struggled to find the right words. I need to understand. How can you forgive me? I almost killed you. I made assumptions about you. About all humans. I treated you like you didn't matter. Haiyan Wu stopped his exercises and sat down. He was quiet for a long moment. My grandmother used to say that mistakes are lessons waiting to be learned. You made a mistake. But you're here. You're trying to understand. That matters more than the mistake. Your people must hate me, Tala said. Some do, Haiyan Wu admitted. Some want you punished. But I told them the truth. It was an accident. You weren't trying to hurt me. You were doing your job. Your job almost got you killed, Tala pointed out. Haiyan Wu smiled. Welcome to being human. We do dangerous things because someone has to do them. We get hurt. We heal. We keep going. It's not special. It's just who we are. But Tala was beginning to realize it was special. Humans had joined a galaxy full of stronger, faster, smarter species. They had no natural advantages. They should have been overlooked, dismissed, forgotten. Instead, they kept showing up, kept working, kept proving that they belonged. As she left the medical bay that day, Tala made a decision. She would learn everything she could about humans. Not from files and reports, but from experience, from understanding, from respect. She had shot Haiyan Wu by mistake, but the real mistake had been made long before she pulled the trigger. The real mistake was thinking she understood humans, when she had never bothered to really look at them. The tribunal convened 2 weeks after the shooting. Tala stood before a panel of 5 judges representing different species. They would decide her fate. Behind her, the observation gallery was packed with station residents. Some came to see justice. Others came to watch her fall. The human delegation sat in the front row. 3 officials from Earth's diplomatic corps, all wearing formal suits. They watched Tala with hard expressions. She couldn't blame them. One of their people had been shot by station security. They wanted answers. They deserved answers. The lead judge, a floating gas being named Sorrow of Ages, began the proceedings. The charges were read: negligent discharge of a weapon, failure to properly identify a target, causing severe bodily harm to a station worker. Each charge carried potential punishment ranging from demotion to expulsion from the station. Tala accepted full responsibility. She explained the circumstances without making excuses. The power failure, the alarm, the figure at the airlock. But she also acknowledged her failure. She should have announced herself properly. She should have verified the target. She should have used non-lethal force first. The prosecution presented evidence. Recordings from security cameras showed the shooting in detail. Medical reports documented Haiyan Wu's injuries. Maintenance logs proved he was authorized to be at that airlock. The case against her was solid. Then something unexpected happened. The door to the tribunal chamber opened, and Haiyan Wu walked in. He still moved carefully, and Tala could see the strain in his face. He shouldn't be out of the medical bay yet. But he had come anyway. "I request permission to testify," Haiyan Wu said. The judges consulted briefly and agreed. Haiyan Wu was sworn in and took his place at the witness stand. Tala watched him with confusion. What could he possibly say that would help her case? "I want to speak about what happened that night," Haiyan Wu began. The emergency alarm went off. The power failed. I was working to prevent an atmospheric breach. In my rush to fix the problem, I didn't follow proper protocol. I didn't announce myself. I didn't wait for security to arrive. I made mistakes too. The prosecutor objected. The victim's actions don't excuse the defendant's use of excessive force. "I'm not excusing anything," Haiyan Wu said calmly. "I'm providing context." Officer Tala responded to a legitimate emergency. She saw what appeared to be an unauthorized person tampering with an airlock during a crisis. She made a decision based on the information she had. A wrong decision, yes, but not a malicious one. One of the human diplomats stood up. "Mr. Haiyan Wu, are you seriously defending the person who shot you?" Haiyan Wu turned to face his own delegation. "I'm defending the truth. What happened was an accident. A terrible accident. But punishing Officer Tala won't change what happened. It won't make the station safer. It will just satisfy our desire for revenge." The tribunal chamber erupted in discussion. Some praised Haiyan Wu's forgiveness. Others condemned it as weakness. The judges called for order and continued the proceedings. But the tone had shifted. What should have been a simple case of excessive force was now something more complex. After 2 days of testimony and deliberation, the tribunal reached a decision. Tala was suspended for 60 days without pay. She was required to complete additional training in target identification and conflict de-escalation. But she could keep her position. She could continue her career. It was more mercy than she expected. As the chamber cleared, Tala approached Haiyan Wu. He was standing with the human delegation, who were clearly unhappy with his testimony. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "You could have ended my career." Haiyan Wu looked at her with those 2 soft human eyes. "Because ending your career wouldn't help anyone. You made a mistake. You're learning from it. That's more valuable than punishment." The human diplomats left in frustration, but Haiyan Wu stayed behind. He and Tala walked through the station together, an odd pair that drew stares. the Vrexian security officer, and the human she had shot. People whispered as they passed. "I don't understand your species," Tala admitted. "You forgive too easily. You trust too quickly. How do you survive being so soft?" Haiyan Wu laughed, then winced and pressed a hand to his healing chest. "We're not soft. We're practical. Holding grudges takes energy. Revenge takes time. Forgiveness lets us move forward. Besides, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because it's right." Over the following weeks, an unlikely friendship developed. Tala's suspension meant she had time. Haiyan Wu's recovery meant he couldn't return to full duty yet. They found themselves spending time together, initially awkward, but gradually more comfortable. Haiyan Wu taught Tala about human culture. He took her to the small Korean restaurant in the station's human district. She tried something called kimchi for the first time and was surprised by the complex flavors. Spicy and sour and fermented. It had depth that she hadn't expected. "My mother makes this back on Earth," Haiyan Wu said, watching her reaction. "She sent me the recipe, but it's not quite the same. Something about Earth's bacteria makes it different." "Your planet has special bacteria for food?" Tala asked. "Everything on Earth has bacteria," Haiyan Wu explained. "Our bodies are full of them. Trillions of microorganisms living inside us, helping us digest food and fight disease. We're not really individuals. We're entire ecosystems." This fascinated Tala. Humans carried armies of tiny organisms inside them, allies in their constant battle for survival. It was another example of human persistence. They didn't just fight alone. They recruited everything they could to help them endure. Haiyan Wu also shared stories about Earth, wars that lasted decades, explorations of their own world's most dangerous places, the history of humans reaching into space despite having no natural adaptations for it. They had built ships with mathematics and determination. They had joined the galaxy through sheer stubborn effort. In return, Tala taught Haiyan Wu about Rexian culture. Her people valued strength and honor. They believed in testing oneself through combat. But as she explained these traditions, she began to see them differently. Vrexians were born strong. They didn't have to work for their power. Humans had to earn everything, which was more impressive. As they spent time together, Tala began noticing other humans on the station. She saw them with new eyes, looking for the patterns she had missed before. There was G1, a human engineer who regularly worked double shifts without complaint. Tala investigated and found that G1 had fixed more critical systems failures than any other engineer on the station. Not because she was the smartest, because she didn't quit until the problem was solved. There was Daesung, a human diplomat who had just concluded a trade agreement that other negotiators had called impossible. Tala accessed the negotiation logs. The talks had lasted for 3 months. Other species diplomats had rotated out, exhausted. Daesung had stayed the entire time, wearing down the opposition through pure endurance. There was Bio-Ra, a human trader who had somehow become one of the most successful merchants on Villar 9. Tala watched her haggle with a Thaxian dealer over mineral rights. The Thaxian was huge and intimidating. Bio-Ra was small and unimpressive. But she smiled and negotiated and refused every unfavorable offer with polite persistence. After 6 hours, the Thaxian gave up and accepted Bio-Ra's terms just to end the conversation. Humans weren't winning through strength or speed or intelligence. They were winning through something the galaxy hadn't properly valued. They simply refused to stop. They showed up every day. They worked every shift. They tried every option. And when everything failed, they tried again. One evening, Tala and Haiyan Wu sat in an observation lounge, watching ships come and go from the station. Tala found herself thinking about the shooting. about how much she had learned since that terrible night. "I was so certain I knew everything," she said. "About the galaxy, about different species, about humans. I looked at you and saw weakness. I was blind." Haiyan Wu was quiet for a moment. "You weren't blind. You just saw what we show the galaxy. We're not impressive at first glance. We're small and soft and slow. But that's okay. We don't need to be impressive immediately. We just need to still be standing at the end." "Is that how humans think?" Tala asked. "That survival is enough?" "Survival is everything," Haiyan Wu corrected. "If you survive, you get another chance. Another day. Another opportunity. That's all we ask for. Just one more chance to keep trying." Tala looked at the human beside her, the one she had shot by mistake, the one who should be dead but refused to die, the one who forgave her and taught her and showed her what humanity really meant. She understood now. The aftermath of her mistake wasn't just about guilt or forgiveness. It was about learning to see the galaxy differently, to value things beyond obvious strength, to respect the quiet persistence that kept going long after the loud and powerful had given up. The alarm that woke the station was different from the usual warnings. This wasn't a drill or a minor malfunction. This was the sound of real disaster. Tala rolled out of bed and checked her communicator. Emergency broadcasts flooded every channel. A rogue comet fragment had struck Velar 9's outer ring. The impact had damaged the main reactor. She pulled on her uniform, despite still being on suspension. During a crisis, every trained person was needed. The station corridors were full of people running in organized chaos. Emergency crews headed toward the damaged sections. Civilians moved toward the shelter areas. Tala joined the flow toward the security command center. The command center was overwhelmed with incoming reports. Multiple hull breaches. Atmosphere venting from sections 12 through 18. Power fluctuations throughout the station. And worst of all, the reactor was unstable. If it wasn't shut down manually, it would melt through the hull within 3 hours. "We need a team to reach the reactor core," announced Commander Vex. "The automated systems are offline. Someone has to go down there and execute a manual shutdown." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. The reactor area would be flooded with radiation. Toxic fumes from the damaged coolant systems. Temperatures high enough to melt most metals. It was a death sentence for most species. "I'll go," said a voice from the doorway. Haiyan Wu stood there in his maintenance uniform. His chest was still bandaged under his clothes. He had only returned to light duty 3 days ago. He definitely shouldn't be volunteering for a suicide mission. "Absolutely not," Tala said immediately. "You're still recovering." "I know the reactor systems better than anyone," Haiyan Wu replied. "I've run the maintenance schedules for 2 years. I know every access tunnel and every emergency protocol. You need me." Vex studied Haiyan Wu with concern. "The radiation alone will kill most beings in minutes, even with protective gear. Then we'll have to be fast," Haiyan Wu said simply. Tala stepped forward. "I'm going with him. I'm trained for hostile environments. And I'm on suspension anyway. My career doesn't matter if the station is destroyed." Other volunteers came forward. A Faxian engineer named Rook, who specialized in reactor systems. A Kelson medical officer named Tess, who could treat radiation injuries. A young Rexian security officer named Cole, who wanted to prove himself. Together, they made a team of 5. Not enough, but it would have to do. They geared up in the emergency equipment bay. Heavy radiation suits that would buy them maybe 20 minutes. Breathing apparatus for the toxic fumes. Tool kits for the manual shutdown. Tala watched Haiyan Wu struggle into his suit. She could see him wince when the straps crossed his chest. He was still healing. This could kill him. You don't have to do this, she told him quietly. Let someone else go. Who? Hyenwu asked. Who else knows the systems well enough? Who else has studied every maintenance log and every schematic? This is my job, Tala. Let me do my job. They descended into the damaged sections. The destruction was worse than the reports indicated. Entire corridors were twisted and scorched. Bodies of station workers who had been caught in the initial blast lay among the debris. Tala's training took over, pushing emotion aside and focusing on the mission. The temperature rose as they got closer to the reactor. The radiation counters on their suits began clicking faster. They had to navigate around collapsed sections and sealed blast doors. Hyenwu led them through maintenance tunnels that didn't appear on the standard maps. He knew every shortcut, every alternative route. They reached the reactor level 25 minutes after leaving the command center. The heat was intense, even through the protective suits. Tala could see Rook starting to move slower. The Faxian species was strong, but not built for extreme temperatures. Tess was struggling too. Her breathing was labored through the apparatus. The manual override is 3 sections ahead, Hyenwu said, checking his datapad. We need to. An explosion rocked the corridor. A coolant pipe burst, spraying superheated liquid across the tunnel. Rook screamed as the fluid hit his suit. The material held, but the heat transfer was immediate. He collapsed, unconscious from the thermal shock. Get him to safety, Hyenwu ordered. Tess, go with him. Cole, help them. The 3 of them dragged Rook back toward the safer zones. That left just Hyenwu and Tala to complete the mission. They pressed forward into conditions that were beyond survivable. The radiation counters were screaming now. The temperature gauges showed numbers that should be impossible. Tala felt her limbs growing heavy. Her scales were starting to blister under the suit. Her breathing came in gasps. Brexians were tough, but this was too much. She stumbled and fell. Hyenwu helped her up, but she could see he was struggling too. His face was pale. Blood was seeping through his uniform from his chest wound. The strain had reopened the injury. Go back, Hyenwu said. I can finish this alone. No, Tala forced the word out. We go together. But her body betrayed her. She tried to stand, and her legs wouldn't support her weight. The radiation had poisoned her system. The heat had cooked her from the inside. She was done. After all her strength and training, she had reached her limit. Hyenwu looked at her with something like sadness. Then he nodded. Wait here. I'll be back. He moved forward into the worst of the heat and radiation. Tala watched him go, this fragile human who should have died weeks ago from her plasma bolt. Who should be in a medical bay recovering. Who should have given up 12 times already today. But he kept walking. Step by step. Not fast. Not strong. Just persistent. Tala's vision blurred. She thought she might be dying. She had failed. She couldn't complete the mission. Hyenwu would die trying to save them all, and it would be her fault again. She tried to call out to him, but her voice wouldn't work. Time became strange. She wasn't sure if minutes passed or hours. Then she heard metal grinding against metal. The distinctive sound of manual override controls being engaged. Hyenwu had reached the reactor. He was executing the shutdown sequence. The heat began to decrease. The radiation levels started to drop. The emergency systems kicked in as the reactor powered down safely. Hyenwu had done it. He had saved them all. Tala tried to stand again. She had to reach him, had to help him get out. But her body still wouldn't respond. She lay there in the corridor, helpless and useless. Then she saw a figure approaching through the dissipating smoke. Haiyan Wu, barely conscious, dragging himself back toward her. He collapsed next to her. His face was burned. His breathing was wet and painful. His eyes were unfocused. But he was alive. Still alive. Still refusing to die. "Told you I'd be back," he whispered. Tala heard voices. Running footsteps. The rescue teams had arrived now that the area was survivable. They lifted both of them onto stretchers. As they carried her toward safety, Tala looked over at Haiyan Wu. He had passed out now. His vitals were weak. But she knew somehow that he would survive this too. Because that's what humans did. They survived. The last thing she remembered before unconsciousness took her was a strange realization. She had gone into that reactor to save Haiyan Wu, to make up for shooting him, to prove she was worthy of his forgiveness. But in the end, he had saved her. The weak, fragile human had been stronger than the mighty Vrexian, not because his body was tougher, but because his will was unbreakable. And then everything went dark. Tala woke up in the medical bay for the second time because of Haiyan Wu. But this time, they were in beds next to each other, both injured, both recovering, both alive when they shouldn't be. The doctor said she had been unconscious for 4 days. Severe radiation poisoning. Second degree burns over 30% of her body. Multiple organ stress. She had come very close to dying. Only emergency treatment and her Vrexian constitution had saved her. Haiyan Wu had been awake for 2 days already. His bed was surrounded by flowers and gifts from grateful station residents. He had saved thousands of lives by shutting down the reactor. He was being called a hero. But when Tala looked at him, all she could see was someone who kept doing the impossible. "You should have left me," Tala said when she could finally speak. "You should have saved yourself." Haiyan Wu turned his head to look at her. His face was still bandaged from burns. His chest was wrapped again, the old wound reopened by his efforts. But his eyes were clear and warm. "I told you I'd come back," he said. "Humans don't leave people behind." "But I'm Vrexian," Tala protested. "We're supposed to be the strong ones, the survivors. You're supposed to be weak. Who told you that?" Haiyan Wu asked. "Who decided that being physically strong is the only kind of strength?" "You're strong, Tala. You stayed conscious in conditions that would kill most beings. You fought to keep going. That's strength too." Crix visited them daily, fascinated by their recovery. The insectoid doctor couldn't stop studying Haiyan Wu's scans. The human had survived lethal radiation levels. His body was healing from burns that should leave permanent damage. His reopened chest wound was closing again. It defied medical logic. "I need to write a paper about human physiology," Crix said, clicking his mandibles excitedly. "The galactic medical community needs to understand what your species is capable of." "We're not special," Haiyan Wu insisted. "We just heal. Everyone heals." "Not like this," Crix corrected. "Most species reach a point where the body gives up. Too much trauma. Too much stress. The system shuts down. But human bodies don't know how to quit. They keep fighting until they win or until there's absolutely nothing left to fight with." Tala thought about this as she recovered. She had more time to think than she wanted. Physical therapy. Regeneration treatments. Long hours lying in bed with nothing to do but reflect. She thought about the shooting. About the friendship that had grown from that terrible mistake. About the reactor crisis and Haiyan Wu walking into certain death because someone had to. She thought about all the humans she had started noticing on the station. G1 was leading the repair efforts, working 20-hour days to fix the damage. Dai Sum had coordinated the civilian evacuation with calm efficiency. Bei Ora had opened her trading warehouse to store emergency supplies. None of them were the strongest or fastest or smartest beings on. Velar to 9, but all of them were essential because they simply didn't stop the investigation into the reactor crisis. Concluded that Hyun-woo's actions had saved the station. The manual shutdown had been executed perfectly despite impossible conditions. Station command offered him a promotion and a medal. He declined both. I was just doing my job, he told them. The same job I was doing when I got shot. I don't need recognition. I just need to keep working. But the station recognized him anyway. The human section threw a celebration. Beings from dozens of species came to honor the human who had walked through fire and radiation to save them. Tala attended when she was released from medical care. She stood at the back of the crowd and watched. Hyun-woo accept thanks and congratulations with embarrassed humility. After the celebration, they walked together through the observation deck. Ships were arriving with repair supplies and replacement crew. Velar 9 was recovering. The galaxy kept spinning. Life continued. I need to tell you something, Tala said, about why I really kept visiting you after the shooting. You felt guilty, Hyun-woo said. That's normal. It wasn't just guilt, Tala admitted. It was fear. I shot you because I thought I understood humans. I thought you were weak, helpless, not worth my attention or respect. When you survived, it scared me. It meant I was wrong about everything. She stopped walking and turned to face him. You changed everything I believed about strength and survival and worth. You showed me that the galaxy is bigger and more complex than I thought. And that terrifies me, because if I was wrong about humans, what else am I wrong about? Hyun-woo was quiet for a long time. Ships moved silently in the space beyond the observation windows. Finally, he spoke. My grandmother used to tell me a story about a tree that looked at bamboo and felt superior. The tree was thick and strong. The bamboo was thin and flexible. When storms came, the tree stood firm and the bamboo bent. The tree thought this proved its superiority. He gestured at the stars. But then a great storm came, the strongest storm in generations. The tree tried to stand firm like always, and the wind broke it. The bamboo bent all the way to the ground. The storm passed. The tree was destroyed. The bamboo straightened up and kept growing. Humans are the bamboo, Tala said, understanding. Everyone is bamboo sometimes, Hyun-woo corrected. The trick is knowing when to bend and when to stand firm. Vrexians have their strengths. Humans have different strengths. Neither is better. Both are necessary. They resumed walking. Tala felt something release in her chest. Not forgiveness, because Hyun-woo had already given that. Something deeper. Acceptance. Understanding. Peace with her mistakes and what they had taught her. I'm going back to work next week, Hyun-woo said. Full duty. The doctors finally cleared me. I returned to security in 3 days, Tala replied. My suspension is over. Will you change how you work? Hyun-woo asked. After everything? Tala considered this. Yes, I'll verify before shooting. I'll look at beings and see individuals instead of species. I'll remember that strength comes in many forms. And I'll try to be more like bamboo. Hyun-woo smiled. That's all anyone can do. Try, fail. Learn, try again. Over the following months, Velar 9 healed. The damaged sections were repaired. New safety protocols were implemented. Life returned to normal. But something had changed. People looked at humans differently now. They saw the workers who had volunteered for the most dangerous repairs. The engineers who worked until the problems were solved. The civilians who had stayed calm during the crisis. Tala became an advocate for human integration into station security. She argued that humans brought unique qualities to the job. Not strength or speed, but persistence and creative problem-solving. Her arguments were met with resistance at first, then grudging acceptance, then genuine interest. She trained with Haiyan Wu in her off hours. He taught her human martial arts that emphasized using an opponent's strength against them. She taught him Rexian combat techniques that relied on raw power. They learned from each other. They became better together than they were apart. One evening, they sat in the Korean restaurant sharing a meal. Tala had developed a taste for the food. Spicy stew and fermented vegetables and rice that stuck together in clumps. It was nothing like Vexian cuisine, but she had learned to appreciate it. Do you ever think about it? Tala asked. About me shooting you? Haiyan Wu set down his chopsticks. Every day, but not with anger, with gratitude. How can you be grateful for that? Because it taught both of us something important, Haiyan Wu explained. You learned that humans are tougher than we look. I learned that forgiveness is more powerful than revenge. We both became better from it. How can I not be grateful for that? Tala looked around the restaurant. Humans and aliens eating together, talking, laughing, building relationships. She saw G1 sharing a table with a Gorlan engineer. Daesung discussing trade routes with a Kelson merchant. Biora teaching a young Thaxian how to use chopsticks. Your people are changing the station, Tala observed. The galaxy thought humans were weak. But you're teaching everyone what real strength looks like. We're not teaching anything, Haiyan Wu said. We're just being ourselves. Showing up. Doing the work. Refusing to quit. The galaxy can take it or leave it. But the galaxy was taking it. Tala saw it everywhere. More human ships arriving at Velar 9. More human workers being requested for critical projects. More human diplomats being included in important negotiations. The species that everyone had dismissed was proving essential. As Tala walked back to her quarters that night, she looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the death world that had forged humanity through fire and struggle. The planet that had taught humans to endure anything, to survive everything, to never, ever give up. She thought about the human she had shot by mistake, the one who should have died but lived, the one who forgave her without hesitation, the one who walked into a reactor core because someone had to, the one who showed her that strength wasn't about muscles or armor or natural weapons. It was about the refusal to quit, even when the universe itself demanded surrender. The aftermath of her mistake had shocked her. Not just the immediate consequences, but the long-term revelation. Humans weren't weak. They were the strongest beings she had ever met. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand what that meant. Tala touched the scar on her arm from the reactor crisis. It would fade with time, but the lessons would remain. She had learned to see beyond appearances, to respect persistence over power, to understand that survival wasn't about being the strongest. It was about being the last one standing when the storm finally passed. And in a galaxy full of storms, humanity would always be standing. Bent perhaps, battered certainly, but standing, always standing, ready for whatever came next. Because that's what humans did. That's who they were. And now, Tala understood why that made them extraordinary.